So now I'm going to help you know how to approach a text source, how to read it for information for a purpose, and then to take that information and record it in your notes in a way that makes sense. So research is one of the most important skills that you can have as you move through school. And it's not something that comes naturally to most people, but it is a skill that can be developed. And that's what we're working on here. Remember, we might not all get the same amount of information from this text, and that's okay. We're all at different places, and that's just fine. So before we start reading, we want to set up our article to read. I chose to record our 4 topics that we need to record information about for our research project. They are climate, population, transportation, and food. And then also, I have divided up by drawing lines and numbered our paragraphs 1 to 5. So why don't you go ahead, pause the video, and set up your document so it looks like this. And when you're done, you can resume. Okay, so again, we're reading for a purpose where our goal is to listen for information related to these 4 topics. I'm going to do the first paragraph for you and just kind of model what this process might look like. Now, I want you to do your we'll pause here a second. So let's go ahead and read. And this time we're not gonna write anything or highlight anything. You need a highlighter, by the way. We're just going to read and see if we can identify any of these topics in the paragraph. The Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and Nunavut make up the region referred to as the Arctic or the North. Much of this land is covered by tundra. The tundra is an example of a cold desert. It receives very little precipitation. The winters are long and harsh with very low temperatures, and the summers are short. So this definitely has information we could use. Which of our 4 topics did you hear information about? Hopefully you heard some information about climate, about what the weather is like here in general over a period of time. Remember, climate is the temperature and the precipitation, how wet or dry it is. So we're going to go ahead on the left and we're going to write which topic we heard information about. So you can write climate there. Now we're going to just read through it one more time and highlight the information about climate. Once we highlight it, it'll be really easy to put it into our notes. So I want you to try as best you can to highlight no more than 3 words in a row. That just breaks the habit of highlighting everything. We don't want to highlight complete sentences, or we would highlight pretty much this whole paragraph, and then what's the point? So this is what it would look like. Again, I'll model. You can do it along with me, or you can watch and then pause and copy what I've done. The Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and Nunavut make up the region referred to as the Arctic or the North. Probably don't need that. Much of the land is covered by tundra. Ooh, I know that a tundra is an example of a kind of climate. So I'm going to highlight covered by tundra. This land is tundra. And I know this is one of the words we have to use in our project. So I want to make sure I highlight that. Tundra is an example of a cold desert. Okay, ooh, that gets to temperature and precipitation. It's cold and it's desert, so it's dry. It receives very little precipitation. Again, that's climate information, very little precipitation. The winters are long and harsh with very low temperatures, and the summers are short. So winters, long, harsh, very low temperatures, summers are short. So that's my climate information that I highlighted. If you want to pause the video and highlight that too, then great. And when you're done, you can resume and we'll look at how we put this information into notes. Okay, so all of this information is about climate. So all of it's going to go here on our climate page. So let's see if I can get where we can see both of these at the same time. Okay, so remember, when you take your notes, you do not want to write in complete sentences and you don't want to copy word for word from here. You want to put it in your own words so that when you go to use the information, you know you will not be plagiarizing. So I'm going to look at my first detail, covered by tundra. Tundra is an example of a cold desert. Okay, so Covered by tundra is what the text says. I'm going to do, again, my first bullet point. Here's how I took that. Instead of saying much of this land is covered by tundra, I said much of land equals tundra. You can use symbols. Next, I know that a tundra, I want to write a little more information about what a tundra is. It's a cold desert, and that there's very little precipitation here. So my next note, and I don't want to put it in those words, I put tundra equals cold desert, not much precipitation. And then I made a note to myself that that means it's dry. Again, new fact, new bullet point. And the next was that winters are long and harsh with very low temperatures. I took that and put it in my own words. Winters equal long, very cold. And then finally, summers are short. And that's hard to put that in very different words, but I just said short summers. So all this information here then in my own words would be pretty easy to go and put into a couple of sentences for my project. So go ahead if you need to pause and record the notes. You can copy from me or you can do in your own words. It is up to you. When you're done, you can go ahead and resume the video and we will go over paragraph 2. Okay, so paragraph 2. I'm going to go ahead and read. We'll do this a little bit together again, and then you'll do the rest of the article on your own. So again, remember the topics we're looking for information about. All right, let's read. In the Arctic, temperatures may rise above freezing for only a few weeks in the year. The tundra has a layer of permafrost about 3 feet under the surface. Even in the summer, this layer does not thaw. In some areas, the upper few inches of soil may warm enough for small plants to grow. The land is too cold for farming. Okay, so we've got some information we can use. Think, which of these topics did you hear information about? So no, I know I heard climate information again, so I'm going to write climate. But I also heard information about one of our other topics. Can you think of what that is? This part down here, this last sentence, the land is too cold for farming, that starts to get at the idea of how living in this cold place affects the food. Okay, so you're going to go back and you're going to highlight. If you want to pause the video and do your own highlighting, and then you can resume and you can see what I highlighted. Okay, here's my very limited highlighting. Yours does not have to look exactly like mine. That's okay. No two people's papers will look exactly the same. I highlighted above freezing, few weeks a year. There's permafrost and too cold for farming. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take what you highlighted and go to your notebook and enter this information under climate and this under food and try it on your own. And then you can compare how you recorded the information to how I recorded the information. Okay, so I took this first part, it's above freezing for only a few weeks of the year. We know it's cold, but this also gives us a little more detail about how cold it is and how long it's cold. So I thought that could be interesting. So I recorded that. In order to not say the exact same thing, they said above freezing almost most of the year. I said that temps below freezing almost all year long. So it's freezing almost all year long there. And then the permafrost I actually put on my food page, not on my climate page. And you'll see why here in a second. So if I flip ahead to my food page, here's what I recorded. So permafrost is part of climate, but it helps us understand their food. So that's why I put it here. So I said it's too cold for farming because, this is an abbreviation for because of permafrost. So too cold for farming, and that's because of the permafrost. So obviously they're going to have to eat some different things, not a lot of fresh food grown there. All right, so your task now is to read paragraphs 3, 4, and 5, identify which topics there is information about, do your highlighting, and record that information into your notes. When you're done with that, you'll go back to the document that has all your sources on it and you move on to the next source. Remember, this doesn't have to be perfect. If you struggle, that's okay. We're working on building the skill of reading for a purpose, research, recording research notes. Good luck and let me know if you have any questions.